I waited 13 years to become a mother. For a long time, motherhood was the thing I wanted most. Not one of the things, it was the thing. So when my daughter finally arrived, I assumed that part of me would feel settled. And it did, but not in the simple, permanent way I had expected. Because eventually I noticed another feeling beginning to surface. It wasn't regret, it wasn't unhappiness, it wasn't even a desire to return to my old life. It was more like a quiet restlessness, a sense that there were parts of me I hadn't heard from in a while. The part that liked creating, the part that liked researching, the part that wanted to build something. And every time those parts spoke up, another voice answered, but you wanted this. It was almost as though wanting motherhood meant I no longer was allowed to want anything else. And that contradiction stayed with me because I was grateful. I am grateful, but I was also restless. I love being home with my daughter, but I also missed parts of myself. And for a while, I thought one of those truths had to cancel out the other. I'm not sure they do. Hi, welcome back to Pearls of Motherhood, a community for all moms in all our glory and all our messiness. I'm Diana, and this season is called Motherhood But Make It Mine. So far, I've spent a lot of time looking at the expectations we inherit, the rules we don't remember agreeing to, the mothers we imagined we would become, the approval we were reaching for, even when we already know our own children. And lately, I've been wondering what happens after we loosen our grip on all of that. Because once I stop asking what motherhood is supposed to look like, I'm left with another question. What do I actually want now? And I find that question surprisingly difficult because mothers are used to answering what everyone else wants. We want what everyone else wants. What does the child need? What does the family need? What has to happen next? But desire is different. Desire asks us to notice ourselves. And I'm not sure motherhood always gives us much practice in doing that. So today, I'm not trying to convince anyone to want more. I'm just trying to understand why wanting anything for ourselves can feel so complicated once we become mothers. There is a phrase we use all the time. I want more. And I think the word more makes people nervous. It sounds like ambition, expansion, achievement, a larger life, more money, more recognition, more success. But I'm not sure that's what most mothers mean when they say it. Sometimes more means quiet, more time, more help, more creativity, more friendship, more of a sense that your life has your fingerprint on it. Sometimes more is not about adding anything at all. Sometimes it is wanting less rushing, less noise, less obligation, less of the feeling that every hour already belongs to someone else. Maybe more is just the closest word we have for the feeling that something inside us still wants room. I've been thinking about that because when I first began feeling restless, I assumed the restlessness meant something was wrong. I had spent so many years wanting motherhood that I didn't know what to do with any desire that appeared after it. Honestly, I probably didn't even think of it. There was an unspoken expectation in my own mind that finally becoming a mom should have ended the wanting, as though I had reached the destination, as though gratitude required me to stop looking around. And I don't know exactly where I learned that from. No one sat me down and said, oh, once you become a mom, you no longer are allowed to want anything for yourself. But I think I absorbed it along the way somewhere. Maybe from the way we praise moms for sacrifice, maybe from the way we talk about devotion, maybe from the idea that a good mother should be completely fulfilled by caring for her family. Or maybe it came from just myself, from knowing how hard I had fought to get there and then feeling I owed this life a permanent state of satisfaction. I had wanted my daughter so badly. So whenever I felt overwhelmed, I questioned myself. Whenever I missed a part of my old identity, I questioned myself. Whenever I wanted to use my mind in a different way, I questioned myself. The thought underneath all of it was, well, you asked for this. And I had. Don't get me wrong, I had. But I'm beginning to think that asking for one life changing thing doesn't mean you stop being a person who will ever want anything ever again. A dream coming true does not end your inner life. It does not make you permanently content. It doesn't freeze you in place. It just changes the place from which your next questions begin. I think this part of Tessie and I didn't start Pearls because I had a perfectly formed business plan. We didn't wake up one morning with a 10-year strategy, a media kit, and a flawless content calendar. As y'all know, I do not have a flawless content calendar on social media. Although I do appreciate a good plan. I started because there were parts of me that needed somewhere to go. The part of me that loved research, the part that loved connecting ideas, the part that wanted to create something meaningful, the part that missed using her voice, and the part that wanted other mothers to feel less alone. Those parts of me hadn't disappeared, but they had become quiet. My days were full. My kid needed me. My family needed me. The house always seemed to need something. And I had chosen to be home. And that is important to me. I wasn't trapped in a life I had secretly regretted. I wanted to be there. I was grateful that I could be there. And I still felt a pull towards something else. For a while, I thought those two truths reflected badly on each other. If I really wanted to stay home, why did I need another project? If motherhood was meaningful, why did I miss work that challenged me? If I was grateful, why was I restless? But Pearls did not come from motherhood failing me. It came from motherhood changing the kind of work that felt meaningful. I did not necessarily want my old life back. I wanted to make a new one that included the woman I had been, the mother I had become, and the person I was still becoming. And that feels different. There's so much language around motherhood about getting back to yourself, getting your body back, getting your confidence back, getting your career back, get your old life back. And I understand the longing behind it. There are parts of my old life I miss too. Uninterrupted thoughts, for example, spontaneity, efficiency. Leaving the house in one go instead of coming back and forth for the stuffies you forgot. I miss parts of the woman I was, but I'm not sure I want to become her again. She was me. She absolutely matters. She carried me through years that required enormous strength, but she had not lived this life yet. She did not know what it would feel like to love a child this way. She did not understand this particular kind of fear or responsibility or exhaustion or joy. She could not have created Pearls of Motherhood because she did not have this voice yet. Motherhood did not simply take me away from myself. It also introduced me to parts of myself I had never met. So maybe the question is not, how do I get back to who I was? Maybe it's, what does this version of me want now? And that's a harder question because the answer may not resemble the life you once had. Maybe you had wanted a bigger career and now you want more time. Maybe you once imagined staying home and now you miss working. Maybe you still love the work you did before children. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to create. Maybe you want to rest. Maybe you want to earn money. Maybe you want to stop measuring your worth through productivity. Or maybe you want to be with your children more. I don't think there's one enlightened answer. And I'm not sure the point is to choose the desire that looks best from the outside. The point may be learning to recognize which desires are actually ours. I started noticing that ordinary wants seemed to require explanations after I became a mom. Before motherhood, wanting things like an education or a career were considered normal. And I was cheered for that. Wanting to travel, exercise, learn something new, or build a project, those were simply part of being an adult. Then motherhood entered the picture, and suddenly the desire felt like evidence. If a mom wanted to work, maybe she wasn't fulfilled at home. If she wanted to stay home, maybe she was wasting her education. If she needed time alone, maybe she wasn't appreciating her children. If she wanted to build something, people wondered how it would affect the family. And sometimes the questioning wasn't even coming from anyone else. Sometimes it was internal. I would imagine the questions before they were asked, like how much time would it take? Who will watch my daughter? Does this matter enough? Is it worth the inconvenience? Should I be using this time for something the family needs? It fascinated me that a desire could appear in my mind and immediately be placed on trial. I rarely allowed myself to simply want something. I had to build a case for it. And I began wondering whether this was really about wanting more, because even that word started to feel slightly wrong. I didn't necessarily want a bigger life. I didn't want to undo the choices I had made. I wasn't looking for an escape from being a mom. I think I wanted to feel that some part of my life was still being shaped by me. There's a psychological framework called self-determination theory. The name makes it sound more technical than the idea really is. But at its core, it says that there are three things that seem to support a person's sense of well-being and engagement in their own life: connection, competence, and autonomy. Connection is the feeling that we belong and are cared for. Confidence is the feeling that we are capable and able to meet challenges. And autonomy is not the same as independence. It does not mean living without obligations or doing whatever we want. It's closer to a sense of authorship. The feeling that at least some of the choices shaping our lives feel like our own. And I kept on returning to that word, authorship, because motherhood gave me more connection than I had ever known. It also forced me to become more competent in ways I never expected. I learned to care for another human while being exhausted. I learned to read expressions, anticipate needs, and carry an extraordinary amount of responsibility. I became capable of things I had once doubted I could survive. But authorship became harder to locate. My days were full of decisions. Lots of decisions. When will she sleep? What will she eat? Did she poop? Where do we need to go? When is the next dentist appointment? What's that noise? Oh, wait, why is it so quiet? I was choosing things all day long, but I'm not sure I always felt like I was choosing my life. One is responding, the other is creating. And maybe that was part of what I had been missing. Not my old identity, not freedom from my family, not even more in the way I had understood it. Maybe I missed the feeling that I was still participating in the creation of my own life. I think Pearls of Motherhood gave me some of that back. Not because it existed separately from motherhood, it was born from motherhood. It allowed me to take what I was living and do something with it, to think about it, to question it, to research it, turn it over my head, connect it to something larger. Pearls was not my way out of motherhood. It became one way I began writing myself back into it. I could be my daughter's mom and still create. I could still build something without pretending my family did not need me. I can make room for my mind without rejecting the work of caregiving. It did not solve every conflict. There are still days when I feel pulled in different directions. There are episodes that launch without the promotional plan, I imagine, because I'm on vacation with my family and motherhood has its own schedule. There are scripts written around nap times, interruptions in real life, and there are things I would do differently if I had unlimited time. But maybe authorship does not mean complete control. Maybe it means recognizing yourself inside the choices you are making. Maybe it's less about designing a flawless life and more about feeling present in the life you're already building. There is one part of this conversation that I want to hold carefully because I don't want this episode to become another task for exhausted moms. We have enough assignments. Some moms are in seasons where there is no room. Some are caring for children with complex needs. Some are working because their families depend on the income. And some are staying home because childcare is unaffordable. Some are surviving grief, illness, financial stress, and, relationships that don't feel supportive. And some know exactly what they want and can't pursue it right now. I don't think that every desire must become a goal. And I don't think every goal has to become a plan. Sometimes the only thing available to us is noticing, like, I miss creating. I want to feel challenged. I need more help. I want to work again. I want to work less. I need more time with my kids. I need a part of my week that belongs to me. Or I don't know what I want, but I know I feel far away from myself. Naming a desire does not commit you to changing your life tomorrow. It's not a contract. It's not an accusation against the life you have. It's information. And I wonder how often we shut down that information before we even allow ourselves to hear it. We immediately answer the desire with things like logistics. I don't have time. We can't afford it. The kids need me. My partner's busy. It would be too complicated. And those realities may all be true. But sometimes we move so quickly into why something can't happen that we never pause to wonder why it mattered to us in the first place. Maybe I don't need to solve every desire. Maybe I only need to become curious about it. What am I actually looking for? Is it creativity? Is it recognition or adult conversation? Rest? Maybe a sense of progress or the feeling of being capable in a way that is invisible to me. Sometimes the thing we think we want is only one possible expression of a deeper need. Maybe I think I need to start a business, but what I'm really missing is creating. Maybe I think I need to return to work, but what I'm actually looking for is competence and adult connection. Maybe I think I need an elaborate self-care routine, but what I really need is 1 hour without being responsible for anyone. Maybe the desire becomes less threatening when I stop treating it as a demand and start treating it as a clue. And maybe that's why this next message stayed with me, because it isn't really asking whether a mom should start a business or take a class. It was asking something much more poignant. Can I want something for myself without making the life I chose feel like it wasn't enough? Here's some listener mail. Kelsey from Miami writes, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm grateful that our family can make it work. I chose to be home, and I know this time with my children matters. But lately, I keep thinking about doing something for myself, maybe taking a class or starting a small business. Every time I think about it, I feel guilty. My children need me, and I chose this life. Why doesn't it feel like enough? I kept returning to that last sentence. Why doesn't it feel like enough? And I wonder whether that was actually the question, because I don't hear a mom saying her children are not enough. I hear a mom noticing that motherhood is not the only part of her that exists. Maybe there is a creative part of her that wants somewhere to go. Maybe there's an intellectual part that wants to learn. Maybe she misses adult conversation. I know I did. Maybe she wants to experience herself as a beginner again. Or maybe she wants one thing in her life that is not measured by whether someone else is fed, dressed, rested, or emotionally regulated. None of that means that she chose the wrong life. And it does not mean the time she spends with her children matters less. I wonder whether we sometimes confuse enough with everything. Her children can be enough. Motherhood can be enough. And neither of those truths require every part of her to go silent. Maybe the class is the answer. Maybe the business is. Maybe neither is practical right now, but I would be curious about what she feels when she imagines them. What part of the idea lights up? Is it building something, learning something, earning money, having a reason to get dressed and speak to adults, seeing progress that does not immediately get undone by a toddler? I would start there. Not with whether she has earned the right to want it, not with whether it makes her a good mom or a bad mom. Just, with curiosity. What is this desire trying to tell her? And what it might look like to honor that information even before she can act on it. Maybe it's writing down the business idea. Maybe it's just researching a class. Maybe it's protecting 1 hour each week. Or maybe it's telling her partner, hey, there's a part of me I would really like to make room for. Maybe the first step is not doing more. Maybe it's allowing herself to believe that wanting is not a character flaw. I think the word enough has caused moms a lot of pain. Shouldn't my children be enough? Shouldn't staying home be enough? Shouldn't my career be enough? Shouldn't the life I prayed for be enough? But maybe we are asking one part of life to become every part of our life. My daughter is enough. She does not need to prove her value by fulfilling every intellectual, creative, emotional, or social need I will ever have. Motherhood is enough. It does not erase every other part of my identity. And maybe I'm enough too, even when I continue to change, even while I stay curious, even when some part of me still wants to create and build and rest and learn and to begin again. Enough does not have to mean finished. It does not have to mean static. It does not have to mean nothing else is allowed. Maybe enough is not the end of desire. Maybe it's the ground we stand on while we continue becoming. When I look back at the woman who spent trying for 13 years to become a mom, I feel really protective about her. She wanted this life so badly. She had endured so much uncertainty to reach it. And I understand why. Once she finally arrived, she believed gratitude meant never asking for anything else. She was afraid that, wanting more would dishonor what she had been given. But I don't think my daughter has ever asked me to disappear into motherhood. Yeah, she wants my attention. But I think that was something I was really quietly asking of myself. And I'm still trying to understand why. My daughter needs my love. Yes. She needs my care, my patience, my presence, my protection. She needs me to know her and to see her, to help her grow into herself. And maybe part of that work is allowing her to see me remain a person too. Not a person who always puts ambition ahead of family, not a person who gets everything she wants, not a person who never sacrifices, just a person who listens to herself, who creates when she can, who changes her mind, who rests, who tries. Someone who loves her family deeply without believing that love requires her to vanish. One day my daughter may become a mom or she may not. But either way, I hope she knows that she's allowed to build a life with room for every true part of herself. And maybe one way I teach her that is by practicing it now. So maybe today's permission slip is this. You are allowed to love the life you choose. and still be curious about what else belongs in it. I don't know what more looks like for every mom. I'm not even sure I always know what it looks like for me. It may be work, maybe rest, friendship, creativity, maybe a quiet hour. But I'm beginning to think the wanting itself is not the problem. Maybe it's just a sign that there is still more of us here. Not more to prove, not more to perform, just more of ourselves wanting to be noticed. Maybe motherhood is not supposed to fulfill every part of us. Maybe it is one sacred, enormous, life changing part of a much larger human life. And maybe making motherhood our own means learning to hold two truths without forcing one to cancel the other. Like, I love being your mom, and I am still becoming me. Pearls did not take me away from motherhood. It became one place where motherhood and authorship could, exist together. It's one place where I could recognize myself inside the life I had chosen. And maybe that is what I've been looking for all along. Not my old life, not an escape, just, the feeling I was still participating in the creation of this life that I have right now. I would love to hear you answer this question for me. What is one thing you want more of? Not because your life is lacking, but because it helps you feel more present inside it. Send us a message, leave a comment, or write us through our email at ideas@pearlsofmotherhood.com or at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at Pomcast. That's POMCASTS. And share this episode with a mom who may be quietly wondering whether she's allowed to want something too. Until next time, remember, there's no one single right way to do motherhood. You do you, mamas. Talk to you soon. Bye.